What is the difference between a company that is merely successful and one that becomes a legendary, enduring institution? What is the difference between a company that has one great idea and a company that is a fountain of great ideas for over 100 years? What separates the brilliant flash in the pan from the company that is truly built to last? For 6 years, the researchers and writers Jim Collins and Jerry Porras embarked on a massive, exhaustive research project at Stanford University to answer that very question. They identified 18 truly visionary companies like Disney, 3M, Johnson & Johnson, and Sony, that had been founded on average in the year 1897, and had gone on to become the absolute icons in their industries, outperforming the general stock market by a factor of 15. Their book, Built to Last, is the result of that research. But this is not a business book in the traditional sense. It is a work of deep organizational philosophy. It is a myth-busting, counterintuitive, and incredibly powerful deep dive into the timeless principles of how to build an organization, an institution, a legacy that can endure for generations. And it all starts with a single, profound, and game-changing metaphor: the difference between telling the time and building a clock. The architect's secret: clock building, not time telling. This is the single most important philosophical idea in the entire book. It is the master key that unlocks everything else. To understand it, we have to understand the difference between a time teller and a clock builder. A time teller is a person with a brilliant idea or a charismatic, visionary leader. They are geniuses at telling the time. They can look at the sun and the stars of their industry and know exactly what time it is. Many successful companies are built around a single, brilliant time teller. The problem is, when that person leaves or dies, the company often falls apart. The ability to tell the time was with them, not with the organization. A clock builder, on the other hand, is a different kind of leader. They are not primarily focused on having a single great idea or being the charismatic hero of the story. Their obsession is with building a great organization, a clock. They are building a system, a culture, a set of processes that can continue to tell the time, to adapt, and to thrive long after the original founders are gone. The ultimate creation of a great leader is not a product or a service. It is the company itself. The clock is the masterpiece. Collins and Porras found, to their surprise, that the visionary companies in their study were not founded by superstar celebrity time tellers. The founders of companies like Hewlett-Packard, 3M, and Johnson & Johnson were often quiet, reserved, and publicity-shy. Their passion was not for their own personal fame, but for the creation of an enduring institution. This is the first great myth that the book busts. It's not about having a single brilliant idea from a single brilliant leader. It's about building a brilliant organization that can have many great ideas over many generations of leaders. The genius of the and, escaping the tyranny of the OR. The second great philosophical mindset that separates the visionary companies is their ability to escape what Collins and Porras call the tyranny of the OR. Most companies and most people live in a world of false dichotomies. We believe we have to choose. We can either have low-cost, Oregon we can have high quality. We can either have stability and consistency, Oregon we can have change and innovation. We can either be a company that is focused on making a profit, Oregon we can be a company that is focused on a higher purpose and values. This is the tyranny of the OR. It is the rational, common-sense view that you must choose between two seemingly contradictory options. The visionary companies, however, refuse to accept this. They operate with a different and much more powerful mindset, what the authors call the genius of the and. They do not believe they have to choose. They believe that they can and must have both. They are committed to being a company of high purpose and values, and they are committed to making a pragmatic and massive profit. They are committed to preserving a stable and unchanging core ideology, and they are committed to stimulating constant radical change and progress. They are committed to having a clear long-term vision, and they are committed to excellent short-term execution. This is not about finding a wishy-washy balance in the middle. It is about being able to hold two seemingly contradictory ideas in your mind at the same time, and to pursue both of them with equal, fanatical intensity. This paradoxical way of thinking is what allows these companies to be both stable and dynamic, to be both idealistic and brutally pragmatic. It is a core part of their genius, and it is the engine that drives their long-term success. The engine of endurance: preserve the core and stimulate progress. So how does this genius of the and actually work in practice? The book reveals that the central driving dynamic of every visionary company is a two-part engine. On one side, they work relentlessly to preserve the core. On the other side, they work just as relentlessly to stimulate progress. It is the combination of these two forces, held in a constant dynamic tension, that allows them to endure for centuries. Let's break down this engine. The first part is preserving the core. The core is the company's core ideology. A core ideology is not a marketing slogan or a mission statement that changes every few years. It is the timeless, essential, and unchanging character of the organization. It is the company's soul, and it is made up of two parts: core values and purpose. Core values are the handful of fundamental guiding principles of the organization. They are not something that can be strategically chosen. They are the values that the company would hold, even if they became a competitive disadvantage. They are non-negotiable. For Disney, a core value is wholesome American entertainment. For Johnson & Johnson, their core values are laid out in their famous Credo, which states that their first responsibility is to the doctors, nurses, and patients who use their products. The purpose is the company's fundamental reason for being beyond just making money. It is the why that guides the organization. For 3M, the purpose is to solve unsolved problems innovatively. For Hewlett-Packard, it was to make technical contributions for the advancement and welfare of humanity. This purpose is like a guiding star, something you are always striving for, but that you never fully achieve. The visionary companies are almost fanatical, even cult-like in their devotion to their core ideology. They have incredibly strong cultures. They are not necessarily pleasant places to work for everyone. They are looking for people who are a perfect fit for their core values, and they are very quick to spit out anyone who is not. They also overwhelmingly promote their leaders from within. This practice of homegrown management ensures that the leaders of the company have been steeped in the core ideology for their entire careers. Now for the other side of the engine, stimulating progress. While the core ideology is fixed and unchanging, like a rock, everything else in a visionary company is in a constant state of flux. They have a relentless, obsessive drive to change, to improve, to grow, and to become better. They are never satisfied with the status quo. One of the most powerful tools they use to stimulate progress is the Big Hairy Audacious Goal, or the BHAG. A BHAG is not a small, safe, incremental goal. It is a huge, daunting, and almost terrifying mission that galvanizes the entire organization. It's a goal that is so big that it forces you to change and to innovate to achieve it. A classic example is NASA's mission in the 1960s to put a man on the moon and return him safely to the Earth by the end of the decade. That was a BHAG. It was audacious, it was inspiring, and it was a little bit crazy. Another example is Boeing in the 1950s, when it was a small military contractor deciding to risk the entire company on a massive new project to build the first commercial jetliner, the 707. That was a BHAG. These big, hairy, audacious goals are a powerful mechanism for getting a company out of its comfort zone and for stimulating incredible progress. But it's not just about grand goals. Visionary companies also stimulate progress through a process of evolutionary tinkering. They encourage experimentation. They have a philosophy of, try a lot of stuff and keep what works. The famous story of the Post-it note at 3M is a perfect example. It was the result of a failed experiment to create a super strong glue. But an employee saw the potential in a weak glue, and the company's culture allowed him the freedom to pursue that strange idea. This is the engine. A fixed, unchanging, almost religious devotion to a core ideology, combined with a relentless, disruptive, and constant drive for progress in everything else. It is the ultimate expression of the genius of the and. The myth of the great, charismatic leader. One of the most surprising and counterintuitive findings of the entire book is its debunking of the myth of the great, charismatic leader. We have this idea, this cult of personality, that great companies are built by larger-than-life celebrity CEOs. But when Collins and Porras looked at the history of their visionary companies, they found that this was simply not true. The leaders who built these enduring institutions were, for the most part, not charismatic, high-profile visionaries. They were often quiet, shy, and reserved individuals. They were more like humble architects than celebrity heroes. Their ambition was not for themselves, it was for the company. They were obsessed with building the clock, not with being the one to tell the time. This is a profound and deeply philosophical lesson in the nature of true, lasting leadership. It suggests that the most effective leaders are not the ones with the loudest voices or the most dazzling charisma. They are the ones with the deepest commitment to building something that will outlast them. It is a leadership of humility, of service, and of a deep and abiding sense of stewardship. The final, powerful message of Built to Last is that these principles are not just for the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. They are a philosophical guide for anyone who wants to build something meaningful and enduring. It could be a family with a clear set of core values and a shared purpose. It could be a community organization or a creative career. The process is the same. It requires you to do the deep philosophical work of asking yourself, what is my core ideology? What are the handful of values that I will not compromise on, no matter what? And what is my ultimate purpose, my reason for being, beyond just getting through the day? Once you know what your core is, your job is to preserve it with everything you have. And then, in every other part of your life, you must have the courage to stimulate progress, to set big, hairy, audacious goals, to try a lot of stuff, and to never ever be satisfied with the status quo. This is not a business strategy. It is a philosophy for a well-lived life and for building a meaningful legacy. It is a deep inquiry into the art of creating something that truly lasts. If that is an inquiry that inspires you, then you are in the right place. Welcome to Geeky Philosopher. Subscribe and let's continue to explore the ideas that help us build a more meaningful world.